the day I caught a girl in my arms. Jacob was reading in the orchard when dark clouds rolled in. He looked up and saw a girl plummeting from the sky directly above him. Before he could move away, she landed on him, and their lips touched forcefully. A small, jelly-like object fell from her mouth and went straight down Jacob's throat. Before he knew it, it was in his stomach. The mesmerizingly beautiful girl steadied herself and slapped Jacob hard on the neck. "Hey, what was that for? I saved your life," Jacob yelled, but she was already running away. Jacob slowly got up and felt his whole body aching from the impact. "Great, the first girl I ever kissed punches me right after," he thought, then looked up again at the dark clouds. But where did she come from, and how is she okay after falling from up so high? Jacob felt dizzy. He decided to forget this strange encounter and go lie down in his dorm room for some time. When he woke up, it was already 6 in the evening. There was a box of takeout food on the table. Jacob scratched his head as climbed down from bed to get the food. When he stretched out his hand to open the parcel, he was shocked. His body froze in place. In the dark room, he saw a circle of green skin on his right wrist. Jacob drew the curtains so that he could see his arm better. A green fish scale-like tattoo covered his right arm from wrist to shoulder. What the hell? Jacob felt like he was hallucinating. He rubbed his eyes and the green skin was still there. He then tried to smear this green matter off of his body, but it didn't work. Jacob felt a chill down his spine. He quickly undressed and stood in front of the full-length mirror. He wanted to see if there was anything like this on other parts of his body, but there was nothing. After about half an hour, his roommates came back and asked Jacob if he was feeling any better. Yeah, totally. Just another totally normal, healthy day," Jacob lied. The truth was that Jacob was himself puzzled. A girl that fell from the sky and into his lap out of nowhere, the foreboding of a storm, the green, scaly skin on his arm. He touched his wrist once again and made sure it was hidden from his roommates. He didn't want to freak them out till he found out the truth about the strange events of the day. Jacob left the dorm frantically. He waved down a taxi and was on his way to the hospital. "It's probably a discoloration from some bad quality bed sheets," the doctor said. "According to the reports, there's no cell mutation in your body." Jacob sighed at the news. "All right, doc, if you say so." Clutching his reports, Jacob left the hospital and returned to his dorm room. He began scrubbing his arm with soap. He noticed that the color did seem to lighten a bit. He heaved a sigh of relief. After an afternoon of such terrifying events, he could finally get some rest. "Man, I can't believe I was so paranoid. Clearly it's just dirty sheets. I'm pretty gross." Jacob laughed to himself. Someone banged the dorm room with loud thuds, calling out Jacob's name frantically. "Jacob!" Sam, who was sleeping on the bed below Jacob's, threw a pillow at the door in anger. "What the hell?" It was one of their classmates on the door. He replied, "There's a cute girl looking all over campus for Jacob." Sam winced in confusion. "Cute girl?" The classmate kept on banging at the door. "The whole campus is in an uproar over the fuss she's making." Jacob remembered something. As he raised his arm, the trace of the winding green marks came into sight. It did not fade away, and in fact, seemed bigger than before. "Shit," Jacob whispered. He went to get the door. "All right, I'm coming." Sam rose from his bed and joined him. Even though he was usually foul-mouthed and liked to bug Jacob a lot, Sam was also the one who cared about Jacob the most. The trio walked through campus. They saw posters with Jacob's picture and the word "Wanted" in bold pinned up on the bulletin boards. "Holy hell. What did you do to that girl, my guy?" Sam asked Jacob. "How am I supposed to know?" "I don't even know who she is," Jacob responded. Under the curious gaze of at least 100 students, Jacob awkwardly walked towards the door of the cafeteria and stopped dead in his tracks. It was the girl from yesterday, the one who fell out of nowhere. She was wearing a white shirt and a pair of washed-out jeans. It was a very common outfit, yet it looked outstanding on her. Strands of her hair were drifting in the wind. However, underneath the fluttering hair, there was an angry face. Sam whispered into Jacob's ear, "Wow, she's cute." Seeing that Jacob finally showed up, the girl pursed her lips. He walked up and asked under the many piercing glances, "You're looking for me?" The girl slapped Jacob across the face. "Ow, what the hell?" Jacob shouted. "You took something from me yesterday," she replied. Jacob asked in confusion, "What thing?" "It was a bead, a blue bead," she replied. "I didn't see it. You must have dropped it somewhere in the orchard." Jacob huffed. The audience was a little disappointed by their conversation. They wanted more blood and drama. The girl explained, "The bead is soft and bouncy. I'll give you 2 more minutes.
Think harder. Jacob felt the crowd's eyes on them and felt uncomfortable. He asked, "Can we talk somewhere private?" One of the students yelled at Jacob, "Just give her back whatever you took from her. How shameless are you to steal from a girl?" The girl quickly resumed the topic. "That bead is of great importance. I need it back. But I don't know what you're talking about." Before he could finish, the little girl put out her hand and covered his mouth. Jacob caught a whiff of her scent and felt the softness of her palm on his lips. She spoke with certainty. "I can feel it here, right here." She slowly moved her palm from his lips down to his neck and placed it on his stomach. Jacob had goosebumps by now. Jacob caught her hand to remove it from his stomach, but the girl quickly caught hold of his wrist instead and rolled up his sleeve, revealing the green-colored mark. "If you don't have my bead, how do you explain this?" she asked. Jacob immediately yanked his wrist away from the girl and covered his arm with his shirt sleeve. "We are in public. People are gonna get weird ideas." Sam addressed the girl. "Listen, you've found Jacob. He's a good dude. I'm sure whatever's going on between the two of you can be solved. What's your name, baby?" The girl was glaring at Jacob as she replied, "First off, do not call me baby. Secondly, you call him a good person. He's a rotten thief, and I'm not leaving till you give back my bead." "I don't have your stupid bead." She continued to stare at Jacob, and there was stubbornness in her voice. "Fine. I'll sleep with you if you just give me my bead back." Jacob immediately blushed. Sam raised his hand. "I think I might have it." Jacob punched him in the arm. "Just ignore this weirdo. Let's get lunch," Jacob offered. She rolled her eyes. "Fine. You want to play dumb? It does suit you, I'll give you that. But I know for a fact that you have my bead, and if my parents find out, you're going to be in serious trouble. Handing me the bead is better than having to deal with them. Trust me." Her words obviously hinted at the underlying threat. This time her remarks caught Jacob's complete attention. Yet Jacob still didn't think that he had taken anything that was hers. After the encounter with her, all he brought back to the dorm were 2 decks of cards. However, judging from her stubborn character, he was afraid that her family would also believe that he had taken something from her. Jacob walked out the door, but the girl still trailed behind him. Jacob headed straight into the library, swiping his student ID at the entrance. The card reader approved him, and the door slid open. The girl tried to follow, but was denied access. As the door closed, Jacob waved to her with a satisfied grin before walking into the library lobby, relieved to have finally shaken her off. "You'll come to me yourself," she called, just as the door shut. After ditching the persistent girl, Jacob headed to the 2nd floor to look up some information. 2 hours later, he left with a few books, hoping she wasn't waiting for him outside. To his relief, she was gone. On the bus, Jacob absent-mindedly rolled up his sleeve to examine his wrist. The green marks were faint now, but still resembled dragon scales. He'd scrubbed them so hard they'd paled. If his grandma saw, she'd think he'd gotten a tattoo. He grabbed his bag and got off the bus and arrived at his family's cottage in Sturgeon Bay. Exhausted, Jacob pushed open the gate and called out, "Grandma!" A kind woman welcomed Jacob with a big, wrinkly smile. "Jacob, welcome home. How come you're so late today?" "I have an assignment due next week. Had to cram a bit before I could leave." Following his grandma inside the house, Jacob asked, "How was your week, Grandma?" Grandma answered with a chuckle. "Business as usual. Did some cleaning around the house, took some walks along the beach, tended to the flowers and the lawn." Jacob helped his grandma prepare dinner. As he chopped vegetables, he asked, "Grandma, this is kinda random, but do you know anything about dragons?" Grandma seemed to be interested in this topic, and her eyes lit up as she began talking. "Dragons? Oh, I have lots of dragon stories. Apparently some residents of Wisconsin had frequent encounters with real dragons back in the day." Jacob couldn't believe his ears. "Wait, real dragons?" "Yes. Actually, I saw one myself. I was in my 20s working in the field. A storm had come upon us out of nowhere. My good friend and I were trying to find a place to shelter ourselves. Then, this huge dark cloud suddenly descended to a low altitude. Very strange, I thought. As his grandma mentioned the clouds and the change in weather, Jacob's heart sank. His grandma spoke quietly. The lightning flashed, and in that moment, I swear I saw the shape of a dragon moving inside the cloud. It was beautiful. Jacob wondered if dragons really do exist, and if so, was his green mark somehow connected? Snapping out of her reminiscence, Grandma asked Jacob, "Why the sudden interest in dragons?" "What? Oh, just curious." Retracting his surprised expression, Jacob lowered his head and continued to chop vegetables. Grandma continued, "According to legend, there's a dragon palace somewhere nearby. Obviously, most people think of that as just a myth. Why doesn't anyone see them now?" Jacob asked. "Who knows? Could be due to the change of environment. With the deterioration of the environment, many creatures have gone extinct or migrated elsewhere. Why would dragons be an exception?" Grandma's response had left Jacob speechless. Alone in his room, Jacob felt wide awake. He opened the window and gazed up at the starry sky. Coupled with the sound of waves from far away, he thought about the story his grandmother told him. Lifting his wrist, the green-colored imprint was still evident on his arm. The more he looked at it, the more he felt that the pattern resembled dragon scales. "I'm probably overthinking this. There's no way I'm turning into a dragon." He closed the window, turned off the light, and proceeded to sleep. The next morning, he took the bus back to the city. The salty sea wind was blowing through Jacob's hair as he smiled to himself. Such a peaceful day after all the chaos. Once at his dorm, Jacob realized he wasn't feeling as tired as he usually does after visiting home. He had walked with a heavy backpack, spent all day helping out his grandma, and took a long bus ride. Why wasn't he tired after doing so much? In fact, he was feeling energetic. It was great to feel this way, but strange too. Jacob was lost in his thoughts, and his one hand was clutching the large table in their dorm. He decided to test his strength and managed to lift up the table a few centimeters from the ground with only one hand. He was shocked. He immediately turned to Sam and asked, "Sam, didn't you say you wanted an arm wrestling rematch?" Sam was opening up a pack of chips in excitement. He turned around to face Jacob immediately. "You actually want to arm wrestle with me?" "Sure, let's give it a go." Jacob sat up properly in his chair and leaned forward on the table, taking an arm wrestling stance. Sam put the packet down and sat in the chair opposite to Jacob. "How about this? I'll use half my strength to go easy on you." Jacob didn't have a lot of upper body strength. That was why he always lost to Sam in arm wrestling. The duo bent their right elbows on the table and firmly gripped each other's hands. A couple of students passing by saw this and waved at the others. Seeing this, students from the neighboring dorm rooms gathered around them. Sam rolled up his sleeves in confidence. "Prepare to get floored, buddy." Jacob was about to roll up his own sleeves, but he remembered the green mark on his arm and thought against it. But he needed to test his strength. Sam and Jacob's roommate took up the role of the judge and announcer and shouted out loud, "3, 2, 1, go!" Sam shouted as he gathered all his strength. Immediately, Sam's arm fell with a thud on the table. Everyone was shocked to see this. Sam was exasperated at what had just happened. He tried to save face. "That doesn't count. I wasn't ready yet. You cheated." Jacob was shocked too, but tried to keep a steady expression on his face. Only he knew what was going on in his head, and he didn't want everyone to see what he felt. Sam demanded, "One more time." He gripped Jacob's hand as he wasn't willing to admit defeat. Their roommate counted down. 3, 2, 1, go. The second match seemed tougher for Sam as he had to gradually put his full strength to compete with Jacob. In the past, not only was arm wrestling with his best friend effortless, he almost instantaneously won against him. Tables had turned this time, but Sam tried his hardest. His face turned red as blue veins popped out of his arm and forehead. He slowly took the lead in the match. This time, Jacob's arm banged on the table, ending the match in Sam's favor. The students in the room jumped up and cheered as Sam rubbed his sore arm. "Your upper body strength has improved, buddy." Sam felt a glimmer of pride for his friend and a slight envy. Jacob smiled bitterly. "Still not enough to beat you." Jacob escaped to the dorm balcony and leaned as he looked at the trees in the dusk. "I didn't use my full strength in the first match, and yet I was able to defeat Sam with ease. Then I decreased my strength on purpose so he could win the second match. That was a significant increase in my strength from last week's arm wrestling match." Jacob looked up at the moon with uneasiness as he rubbed his wrist. "What is happening to me?" Under the moonlight, Jacob saw that the dragon scale tattoo on his arm had started to become lighter after several washes. But it seemed like it was glowing and had a mysterious power. Jacob thought to himself, "Those stories my grandma shared about dragons can't be real, can they?" Sam called out, shaking up Jacob from his deep thoughts. "Jacob, game on, man." After the arm wrestling match, the four roommates were playing cards for almost the entire night. Jacob had trouble sleeping, but he had to wake up for classes first thing in the morning, so he forced himself to get some shut-eye. The next day, Jacob's classmates were having loud discussions with each other. Everyone was talking about the girl who came to school to find Jacob with great fanfare last Saturday, making it the hottest topic this week. "Hey, Jacob, I heard you were flirting with a girl and now she's hunting you down," a student said. "I heard this girl is pretty crazy, putting up wanted posters all over the school. Too bad I went home on Saturday and missed the drama." Someone else laughed. "I was in the cafeteria. The girl's cute, but so weird." She was stroking Jacob's stomach. Of course, everybody likes him. That's why he's been friend-zoned like 6 times this semester already. Jacob did not bother to join the conversation at all. Instead, he focused on his right arm, which felt numb. He tried moving his arm around, and realized that it had become much thicker. Because of his long-sleeved shirt, Sam and others did not notice the changes in his arm. However, Jacob could clearly feel that his right arm had swelled up. After thinking about the weird tattoo, the arrogant girl, and the sudden increase in his strength, Jacob found himself connecting all these events. He stood up quickly, hesitated for a moment, and then rushed out of the classroom. The bell had just gone off a minute before Jacob arrived, and when he reached, a wave of boys and girls wearing the uniform and house badges started walking out of the gate. He saw a black Mercedes parked at the main entrance of the college and 2 middle-aged men wearing black suits and white gloves standing next to the car. Unexpectedly, the 2 men rushed towards Jacob. "Finally, you're done with classes. Our boss has been waiting for you, Jacob. Get in the car." Jacob looked at the 2 men in confusion. "Who are you?" The 2 men opened the door to the Mercedes. "We work for Sophie's father. We're here to collect you. He wants to meet." Jacob never expected things would be handled like this. He had thought that the mysterious girl Sophie and her parents would go directly to the college administrative office and make a complaint, not send 2 goons to grab him. Jacob stepped into the car. "God, I hope this isn't an invite to my own funeral." The doors closed and the black sedan drove out of campus. On the way, Jacob restrained himself from asking the men sitting on either side of him any questions. A skyscraper, about 70 stories high, came into view. Jacob had noticed the building when it came into sight, and he noticed the sign on top, MTX Group. Listed on the stock market in the United States, MTX was one of the biggest business groups in the States, and undoubtedly a large business empire. The 2 men stopped the car and opened the door for Jacob. Glancing up at the skyscraper, Jacob felt a bit dizzy. After he got out of the car, he was ushered into the building by the 2 men who had driven him here. The receptionist, as beautiful as a movie star, glanced at the 3 of them and smiled. She didn't ask them to register and open the security pathway for them. Jacob was suddenly struck with a wave of nervousness. "What's gonna happen to me?" "Shut the hell up, kid," a suit answered. The men led Jacob into an elevator before pressing the button for the 75th floor. Who the hell is Sophie's dad? He wondered. The elevator dinged as the trio reached the top floor. The gates of the elevator slid open and Jacob was greeted with bright red rugs, a gleaming lobby with golden decor, and magnificent chandeliers that hung on the roof above him. "This place is as luxurious as a 5-star hotel," he whispered. The men ushered him to an office room with a sign that read, "President's Office." Knocking on the door, one of them raised his voice and said, "Boss, we've brought the boy." A dignified but fatigued voice came from the room. "Bring him in." The man opened the door and ushered Jacob into the room. A big, magnificent office with an area of at least 200 square meters came into Jacob's view, and he couldn't help but let out an exclamation of awe. Apart from Jacob's escorts, there were 4 men in the room. One of the men, who had a square face and a crew cut, locked his intense eyes on Jacob. He asked the man who had ushered in Jacob, "Is it on him?" The man answered carefully, "It is. I can feel it." The man, who seemed to be the president, looked sternly at Jacob. "Sophie told me everything. I wouldn't cause you any trouble if you just hand the bead over now." Jacob spoke, grinding his teeth. "I told her everything. I don't have it." Without further ado, the square-faced man spat out 2 words, "Search him." 4 men jumped out and quickly grabbed Jacob's arms and shoulders, while the men who brought Jacob here began to frisk him in a very professional manner. Jacob knew he had fallen into their trap, but he was sure they could do nothing to him when they found nothing on him. Just as he predicted, the man found nothing when he finished the first round of searching. When he began the second round, his professional frisking became rough and intrusive. Suddenly, the man raised his head in panic. "Master?" The square-faced man was enraged within seconds. "How many times do I have to tell you? It's not master, it's boss." "Yes, master. I mean boss." The man pointed at Jacob. "Sophie's item. It's in his stomach." The square-faced man froze while the others' faces also changed expressions. After thinking for a few minutes, the square-faced man said,
Pick up Sophie from her school. Everyone else, please clear the room. All the men in the room walked out. The square-faced man locked his intense gaze on Jacob, which made the boy uncomfortable. My name is Draken. What's yours? He asked in a deep voice. I'm Jacob, the man continued. Jacob, I'll directly get to the point. You must sleep with Sophie after she comes back from school, and you must transfer the Dragon Core back to her. That's the only way we can save her. Jacob's mouth fell open in shock. Sleep with Sophie? While he didn't mind the idea of losing his virginity to the girl, he was worried about the transferring part. What the hell was the Dragon Core anyway, and how was he supposed to transfer it to the snobbish girl? Draken continued with a sly smirk. Yes, and sleeping with a dragon means that in exchange you'll sacrifice something. The look on the man's face sent a chill down Jacob's spine. What is it? He asked. Draken revealed the sacrifice, which drained colors from Jacob's face. No, Jacob shouted, his heart pounding with fear. I will not make that sacrifice. I'll not sleep with Sophie. Draken's expressions darkened, his eyes filled with terrifying rage. The man began to shake and Jacob took staggering steps back to avoid him. Suddenly, Draken's bones cracked and stretched, and sharp spikes pushed up along his back. The room got hotter and hotter. The man was transforming into a beastly creature. Jacob panicked and sprinted for the door, but a massive dragon foot slammed down in front of him, blocking his escape. Jacob turned slowly, his heart pounding, and saw Draken, who'd now transformed into a terrifying dragon with blood-red eyes and mouth open, ready to burn him to ashes. What was the sacrifice Jacob had to make? What were the dark secrets behind the Dragon Core, and who exactly were Sophie and Draken? To find out, listen to my Dragon Princess on Pocket FM app. Download in the next 30 seconds to listen for free.